ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to ORL Season 11, Round 12 from the circuit of Magyar Nagydic here at Hungary. Lining up on pole is VelociHypers ahead of Toro Rosso driver and a current man leading the championship. It's the Hungarian Mr. Foton. Triton Lehman takes third in the Williams ahead of Andinator, and Mark Soren lines up in 6th ahead of Camille Common for his debut race in ORL. Zones takes 8th after taking 3rd last time out at Hockenheim. Valles Kevin lines up in 9th as Calcifer completes the top 10 in the 2nd of the Toro Rossos. Kruzix lines up in 11th ahead of Wow and Mr. Anker as Kobe takes 14th, while the Red Bull pair of Get Owned and Kaboom round out the grid. The driver standings, the Foton currently leads on 141 points, 21 ahead of Hypers. Napadovsky is in 3rd ahead of Danny and Lehman as Kologon and Etnik take 6th and 7th. Mark starts in 8th as Nameless and Hadler round out the top 10.
And in the Constructors' Championship, we have Scuderia Toro Rosso leading with 159 points. After them, directly followed by Mercedes and Red Bull with 145 and 143 points, really close together. Then we have the Alfa Romeo Racing Team, Ferrari, Williams on 6th, followed by McLaren, and Renault, Haas, and Racing Point are at the back.
Everyone starting in the top 10 is on medium tyres. Everyone outside of the top 10, with the exception of Get Owned, is on the hard tyres. So let's keep an eye out for Get Owned. He should be on a little bit of a charge through the grid in the Red Bull. All the drivers line up on the grid. It looks like we are ready to go. 35 laps at this 2.72 mile circuit. 14 corners of Hungarian tarmac. VelociHypers lines up on the front row of the grid alongside Foton, but it's lights out and away we go. It looks like it's a very good start from the Haas of Andinator, as here we go into turn 1. The Hypers will go defensive, but look at Lehman. He's looking for the inside into turn 1. Can he get the drive? No, he can't, but it's going to be Mark moving up into 4th place as Foton looking for the inside onto Hypers into turn 2. Mark's looking quite racy as well. Foton won't be able to make the move work as that's a racing point going very wide in this contact down the track. Get Owned will come into contact as Soren drops down the order as well. I'm not quite sure who he came into contact with. I think it might have been Calcifer, and we're not sure what happened to Get Owned as well because he wasn't directly involved in that incident. However, Hyper still leads from Foton, Lehman and Mark. But let's keep an eye on Mr. Anker. He's got the DRS, looking for the move onto Kopi. Down the start-finish straight, Kopi will go defensive. Wow has picked up a 3-second time penalty as well. But Mr. Anker round the outside should get the better traction, and he will make the move stick. He's got the DRS right on the tail now as we enter lap 7 of the Hungarian Grand Prix. Andinator goes defensive. Zones round the outside. Can he hold it? Andinator will squeeze Zones, but Zones is going to have DRS for the second straight. So does Andinator. Zones down the inside as Andinator once again looking to hold it round the outside, but he's now got the inside into turn 3 as that is Zones going wide, but still side by side. And Zones will let Andinator take the position as they head into turn 4. Obviously, though, we don't know the exact circumstances of the drivers as Zones.
Oh.
Massive moment with the back end through turn 12. Both in mode 4 on ERS. This time Mark will have a look. This time Mark will go down the inside into turn 1. Lehman forced to open up the steering a little bit, but he will get the drive. Mark, he still has a DRS. He can't make his way through. Mark heading that off. Oh, a bit of contact. Lehman and Mark have a bit of a coming together. Jumps ahead of Zones. Actually, they're side by side coming out through turn 2. And, through turn 1 and into turn 2. Camille Common on the outside. Slightly colder tyres, though, on the outside into turn 3. Zones will make it work. And they could look to pit within the next couple as Lehman gets so close to Wow. He's going to look for the inside into turn 8. There's contact. That's really going to cost Lehman. However, it is very, very close. And look at everyone trying to break the slipstream. Mark is going to go down the inside. He will push Lehman out wide. Lehman has a bit of a moment with the back end. And Mark has the DRS heading into turn 2. Lehman so close, but yet so far. Mark finally takes third. And now he can look to stretch out the gap.
Which is now 12
Oh,
point
Lehman
five
looking down the
sec-
inside. Oh, Lehman, that is brave, let's say, but Mark doesn't flinch. He holds on to third regardless. Lehman, though, needs to get... Oh! He loses the back end over the curb, and you can just sense, you know, the fire in the eyes from Lehman. Just does not want to lose any time to Mark, and as a result, he loses so much time. Crew 6 with a 1:18.5.
Oh.
Camille, come on, loses the back end. Oh, he touches the Armco, but it will not be enough to send him. Oh, as Crew 6 almost runs right into the back of him. We just about caught the aftermath of that. He's right on the tail of Andinator. He will look for the inside because the Andinator just does not quite close the door. Zones down the inside and will take a 5th place. Oh, Zones makes a mistake and Andinator right on his tail. Here we go into turn 2. Andinator around the outside, but Zones will be able to hold it. There's contact. Andinator runs into the back of Zones on the exit of 2. Speaking of Andinator and Zones, Andinator right on the back of Zones. Zones goes defensive. Andinator, can he sweep around the outside into turn 1? No, he from Crew 6's Wow and Kaboom, they're side by side into turn 1. And Kaboom will hold on to 8th places. Go, Andinator switches over to the inside, weaving across the start-finish straight. But look how close Zones is. Andinator goes defensive once again. Zones round the outside. He knows this is his final chance. He'll look for the cutback. He is so close. He has the DRS as well. Looks for the outside heading into turn 2. Crew 6 watching all of this unfold. Andinator looks up. Now Crew 6 looking to get the run. Andinator, the two horses side by side into turn 3. But Crew 6 can't make anything work as Zones moves up into 5th place. It's been an impeccable race. 35 laps of absolute masterclass. Hypers takes the win. Calcifer sets the fastest lap of the race. Foton will come across the line to take 2nd. Hypers takes the win ahead of Foton, Triton Lehman, and Mark, dropping down to 4th after a time penalty. Zones takes 5th ahead of Andinator, Crew 6, and Wow, as Kaboom, Calcifer, and Camille, or actually I should just say Kaboom and Calcifer round out the top 10. Everyone else below did DNF. In the driver standings, Hypers closes the gap to Foton, whose lead is now just 14 points. Lehman moves up to 3rd place after yet another podium finish. Mark returning to the scene, he climbs up to 6th place after his 4th place finish. Another solid drive from Zones sees him climb up to 16th after just 2 races in ORL. In the Constructors' Championship, the battle for the top spot heats up as Mercedes close their deficit to just 8 points. Alfa Romeo have dropped behind Ferrari and Williams, with the latter only 1 point off 4th after another podium from Lehman. With that said and done, let's head over to our driver interviews. We are joined by our race winner, Mr. Hypers. It's been a while, since Azerbaijan, I believe, but you're finally back on the top step. How does it feel?
Really good. Not just from this league point of view, but overall in many leagues I had a tough last few races. But now I feel like I'm really getting back to my pace, back to the pace I left off with F1 2018. I started to F1 2019. So it's good to see that the pace is back, and to take the win, it's obviously good. My fastest lap was stolen just at the line. But yeah, it was all right. I guess it's good to be back on the top step and closing that gap in the championship, which has become quite close.
Well, I can confirm, as the votes for driver of the day are now closed. You did get driver of the day. I think both myself and Maku voted for you. It was a perfect drive. Like, no mistakes throughout. You know, you hit top of the time trials of 114 flat or something. I don't even want to know how that was possible. A 115.1 on medium tires in qualifying. It's just all come together for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, actually, that lap in qualifying, I think that was my best quali lap on this game. I can't think of any other lap that was as good as that. In practice, I was doing 0.3, 0.4, which is like still quite good, but then to come with a 15.1 in the actual session was really good. And yeah, I definitely think I'm very strong around this track in terms of the one lap pace. In the race, I struggled a bit more, but in qualifying and over one lap pace, I think I'm quite good around here.
Right. Moving on to Lehman. You managed to get a third place, but for the first half of that race, you had a bit of a train behind you. How much pressure was there, just trying to keep everyone at bay?
No, there was not pressure. I had a trash low down for setup for Hungary. Don't even ask how it was in the race. It was trash, but at least it was good in a straight line. So that was the upside of this situation. But it was good if I had train behind, but it was not good for driving.
So was it just the setup that went wrong, or was there anything else that you
I-
could have maybe changed?
It's hard to say for sure. The pace was not perfect. There is a lot of to change, but I felt like I was gaining time on others in sectors where I should gain time with that setup, and I was losing time when I was supposed to lose the time. But I think I need to work on consistency. I got a penalty this race, which was not ideal. Before I got told that Mark has another penalty, I was basically for like half a lap, because to half a lap I was basically just mad at myself because I knew that I don't have ability to re-overtake Mark, just maybe stick with his DRS. But for sure, next races will be better. And I will have low downforce setup for Spa, not high downforce. No.
Okay. Speaking of Mark, every time I see you on track, every time I speak to you, I always just think, there's always so much bad luck. There's always something that happens, but such a good race from you. You managed to find that move onto Lehman on that second stint. What were the conditions like out there for you?
Well, bad and good at the same time, but race was quite boring. Once the two in front were gone, the race was pretty much over, and P3 was the maximum because you need DRS on this game to stay behind someone, or else it's pretty much over.
When you did manage to get past Lehman, I could see both of you, there was a bit of fire in your eyes, like just try to really hard push, mistakes coming out, and you did end up getting that 3-second time penalty. I also wanted to ask, where did that happen? And Zones was right on your tail at one point, and then he just fell back. So I was just wondering if you saw what happened there.
No, I didn't know what happened there, but yeah, time penalty. I got both of them in turn 4. It's just so difficult. If you just turn in too quick, you cut the inside, and if you turn too less, you cut the outside. So yeah.
Heading into Spa, this is a question for all three of you. How are you feeling for that race?
I mean, Spa is a good race, but I don't know if I can race there because there's another race on this day I have to attend.
Okay. And Hypers?
I mean, as a track, it's fun to drive, but in the race, it's probably gonna be a slipstream train. So, yeah, it's gonna be
fun.
Yeah.
I saw the F1 esports race, so I know what to expect. I think for.
Oh no, that was not even a half of the train. That was not half of the train, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all very much for joining us. Congrats on taking first, third, and fourth. I hope to see you all at Spa-Francorchamps.
And before we end, I cannot wait to see how many cars in one camera shot can we get at the end of Camel Straight. Basically, about 10 laps into the race.
Don't
I
worry, we got
guess
about 6 heading
cars
into
at
turn
least.
1. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be close, but yeah. I want to see like three-way wide going into the chicane. But yeah.
Let's make it 4.
Oh, I'll leave that one to you then. But
Who is up to this, guys? I need signups.
Okay.
right. Thank you guys very much for joining, and best of luck as well. Well, thank you everyone who has tuned in so far. Don't forget to drop this video a like and head on over to the official ORL YouTube channel. Subscribe there as well. You can also follow ORL on Twitter as well as myself and Maku. If you haven't seen Spa in F1 2019, I suggest you check out the esports race because that was very, very entertaining. Our very own Formula Danny. I say our very own. He races with us. He managed to pick up the win. Hopefully, we'll get to see him again because, in his own words, Spa is his favorite track. Although Hypers and Foton will still be battling for the top spot in the championship. We'll be back next week, 7:30 p.m. GMT, as usual, for the Spa Grand Prix, or the Belgian Grand Prix, I should say. So, until then, stay fast. We'll see you next week. Good night, guys.
Good night.